Picture this. You walk into a room, and without saying a single word, every woman's attention gravitates toward you. Not because of your looks, not because of your money, but because of something far more powerful. An invisible magnetism that radiates from your very core. This isn't fantasy, gentlemen. This is the reality of men who understand the ancient art of seduction. While most guys are out there playing checkers, these men are playing chess on a level so sophisticated that their moves seem effortless, almost supernatural. Today I'm going to reveal the 6 unwritten rules that separate the amateurs from the masters, the boys from the men who truly understand what it means to captivate the feminine mind. Here's what 99% of men will never understand. Seduction isn't about what you do. It's about who you become. Robert Greene, in his masterpiece, The Art of Seduction, doesn't just give us tactics. He reveals a fundamental truth that most men spend their entire lives missing. The greatest seducers in history, from Casanova to Cleopatra, understood that seduction is a form of warfare fought not with weapons, but with psychology, emotion, and strategic thinking. They knew that the most powerful aphrodisiac isn't cologne or pickup lines. It's the ability to make a woman feel emotions she's never experienced before. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is something that will fundamentally change how you approach every interaction with women from this moment forward. The men who truly understand seduction operate by a completely different set of rules than what society teaches us. While other guys are busy trying to impress women with their achievements, their possessions, or their desperate attempts at humor, the true seducer is playing an entirely different game. He understands that attraction isn't logical, it's emotional. And emotions, my friend, follow patterns that can be learned, mastered, and deployed with surgical precision. The first unwritten rule that separates the masters from the masses is this: never reveal your hand completely. Think about the most captivating people you've encountered in your life. What made them irresistible wasn't what they showed you. It was what they didn't show you. Mystery is the lifeblood of attraction. When you reveal everything about yourself up front, when you answer every question completely, when you're an open book from the first conversation, you eliminate the very thing that keeps a woman's mind occupied with thoughts of you when you're not around. This principle goes deeper than simple conversation tactics. It's about understanding the psychological concept of intermittent reinforcement, a principle so powerful that casinos have built entire empires around it. When you give someone inconsistent rewards, sometimes attention, sometimes distance, sometimes availability, sometimes scarcity, you create an addiction-like response in their brain. They become obsessed with figuring out the pattern, with earning your consistency, with solving the puzzle that is you. But most men do the exact opposite. They become predictable, available, and transparent, killing attraction before it even has a chance to develop. Marcus Aurelius, the great Stoic emperor, wrote about the power of self-control and strategic thinking. He understood that true power comes not from what you reveal, but from what you choose to conceal. In the context of seduction, this means controlling information like a master strategist controls his resources. You don't give away your entire story in the first conversation. You don't answer every text immediately. You don't make yourself completely available just because someone shows interest in you. Instead, you understand that scarcity creates value and mystery creates obsession. Consider this scenario. 2 men meet the same woman at a social gathering. The first man tells her his entire life story, shares his deepest insecurities, explains his 5-year plan, and makes it clear that he's completely available and interested. The second man engages in fascinating conversation, but leaves her with questions. He mentions an interesting story but doesn't finish it. He references experiences that hint at a complex, adventurous life, but doesn't elaborate. He's charming and present, but then gracefully exits the conversation before it reaches its natural conclusion. Which man do you think occupies more space in her mind over the following days? The second unwritten rule is perhaps the most counterintuitive, and it's this: the less you need her validation, the more she'll crave yours. This principle strikes at the heart of human psychology and challenges everything that popular culture teaches us about romance. We're told that showing our feelings is vulnerability, and vulnerability is attractive. While there's truth to authentic vulnerability, there's a massive difference between strategic vulnerability and desperate neediness. Robert Glover, in his groundbreaking work, No More Mr. Nice Guy, identified a phenomenon he calls covert contracts. These are unspoken agreements that men make in their heads. If I'm nice to her, if I listen to all her problems, if I'm always available, she'll naturally become attracted to me. But attraction doesn't work like a transaction. It's not a logical equation where kindness plus availability equals desire. In fact, the opposite is often true. The most magnetic men understand that their validation is a prize to be earned, not a participation trophy to be handed out freely. They don't seek approval, they grant it selectively. They don't chase, they attract. They don't convince, they inspire desire. This isn't about being arrogant or dismissive. It's about understanding your own value and refusing to compromise it for anyone's temporary attention. Think about the Stoic concept of focus on what you can control. Epictetus taught that we suffer not from events themselves, but from our judgments about events. In Seduction, this translates to focusing on becoming the best version of yourself, rather than trying to control how others respond to you. When you're genuinely focused on your own growth, your own mission, your own development, you naturally become less needy of external validation. And paradoxically, this independence becomes incredibly attractive to others. Here's a practical example of how this plays out in real interactions. Most men, when they're interested in a woman, will start revolving their schedule around her availability. They'll cancel plans with friends, skip workouts, or postpone personal projects just to be available whenever she has free time. The master seducer does the opposite. He maintains his priorities, his standards, and his schedule. When she suggests meeting at a time that conflicts with his gym session or his important project, he doesn't immediately capitulate. He might say something like, "I'd love to see you, but I have commitments until Thursday. How about we meet then?" This simple response communicates several powerful messages. He has a life he values, he has priorities beyond her, and his time is valuable. The third rule involves mastering the art of emotional contrast, and this is where most men completely miss the mark. They think consistency in mood and behavior is attractive, but what actually creates deep attraction is the ability to take a woman through a range of emotions. Think about the most memorable experiences in your own life. They weren't the consistently pleasant ones. They were the ones that made you feel a spectrum of emotions intensely. The greatest seducers throughout history understood this instinctively. They knew how to make a woman laugh until her sides hurt, then shift to deep, meaningful conversation that touched her soul. They could be playfully challenging one moment and genuinely supportive the next. They mastered the ability to create what psychologists call emotional range, which is far more powerful than any single emotion, no matter how positive. This doesn't mean being unpredictable in a chaotic or unstable way. It means understanding that human beings are complex emotional creatures who crave depth and variety in their interactions. When you can make someone feel curious, then safe, then challenged, then understood, then intrigued, then valued, you create an emotional experience that becomes addictive. She starts to associate you with feeling more alive, more engaged, more emotionally stimulated than she feels with anyone else. David D'Angelo, in his work on attraction psychology, identified this as emotional roller coasters. He observed that women are often more attracted to men who can create interesting emotional experiences than to men who are simply nice all the time. This isn't about manipulation or emotional games. It's about understanding that genuine human connection involves the full spectrum of human emotion, not just the safe, predictable middle ground. Consider how this applies to conversation. Instead of always agreeing and validating everything she says, the skilled seducer knows when to playfully challenge her ideas, when to tease her gently about her quirks, when to push back on her assumptions in a way that makes her think. He alternates between moments of intense connection and moments of slight tension. He knows that a little bit of friction creates heat, and heat creates passion. The fourth unwritten rule centers around the power of strategic absence, and this principle alone can transform your entire approach to dating and relationships. Most men operate under the false belief that more attention equals more attraction. They think that constant contact, immediate responses, and perpetual availability demonstrate their interest and commitment. But the masters understand that absence, when used strategically, can be more powerful than presence. This concept has deep roots in human psychology and evolutionary biology. Researchers have found that uncertainty actually increases romantic attraction. When we're not sure about someone's feelings toward us, our brains become more active in thinking about that person, We start to idealize them, filling in the gaps with our imagination. We begin to want what we can't easily have. The key word here is strategic. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about understanding that your time and attention are valuable resources that should be invested wisely. When you're always available, always the first to text back, always ready to drop everything at a moment's notice, you accidentally communicate that you don't have much else going on in your life. You position yourself as the option rather than the priority. Think about how this principle operates in other areas of life. The most exclusive restaurants don't take walk-ins. They have waiting lists. The most sought-after professionals don't answer their phones immediately. They have assistants and scheduled appointments. The most valuable investments aren't always available. There's often scarcity and timing involved. The same principle applies to personal relationships. Strategic absence means having genuine interests, commitments, and activities that sometimes take precedence over immediate availability. It means not always being the first to reach out. It means occasionally letting some time pass between interactions, creating space for anticipation to build. It means having the discipline to end conversations while they're still engaging rather than letting them drag on until they become boring. Here's a practical application. When you've had a great conversation with someone, resist the urge to immediately follow up with another text or call. Let the positive emotions from your interaction marinate in her mind for a while. Give her time to replay the conversation, to wonder what you're doing, to look forward to hearing from you again. This isn't about being cold or distant. It's about understanding that anticipation is a powerful emotion that can work in your favor. The fifth rule is perhaps the most sophisticated, and it involves understanding the profound difference between being interesting and being interested. Most men focus entirely on showing interest in women, asking questions about their lives, their thoughts, their experiences. While this isn't wrong, it's incomplete. The truly magnetic man understands that being interesting is often more attractive than being interested. This principle challenges the conventional dating advice that tells men to be good listeners and ask lots of questions. While listening skills are valuable, they're not enough on their own. If you're only asking questions and never sharing anything compelling about yourself, you become an interviewer, not a potential romantic partner. You might be pleasant company, but you won't be the person she's thinking about when she goes home. Being interesting doesn't mean bragging or trying to impress with stories of your accomplishments. It means developing genuine depth as a person, having experiences, opinions, passions, and perspectives that add value to conversations. It means being someone who has stories to tell, not just someone who listens to stories. It means cultivating your own life to the point where sharing pieces of it naturally creates intrigue and attraction. The Stoics emphasized the importance of continuous self-improvement and the development of wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance. When you embody these virtues authentically, you naturally become more interesting. You have insights to share, principles you stand for, experiences that have shaped you, and a vision for your future that extends beyond just finding a relationship. Consider the difference between these two approaches in a conversation. The first man asks, "What do you do for work? What do you like to do for fun? Where are you from?" These are fine questions, but they're predictable and don't create any emotional impact. The second man might share an interesting observation about human behavior he noticed that day, tell a brief story about a challenging decision he had to make, or express a unique perspective on something happening in the world. Then, he naturally transitions to learning about her thoughts on similar topics. The interesting man creates what psychologists call cognitive arousal. He makes her mind work in new ways, introduces her to ideas she hasn't considered, challenges her to think differently. This mental stimulation often translates into attraction because intelligence and depth are inherently sexy to women who are looking for more than just surface-level connection. The sixth and final rule ties everything together, and it's this: master the art of leading without dominating. This is perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of masculine attraction. Many men think that being attractive means being aggressive, pushy, or controlling. Others swing too far in the opposite direction and become passive, always deferring to what she wants to do, where she wants to go, what she wants to talk about. The master seducer understands that true leadership is about creating experiences and guiding interactions in a way that benefits everyone involved. It's about having the confidence to make decisions and suggestions while still being responsive to her preferences and comfort level. It's about understanding that most people, regardless of gender, are attracted to those who can take charge when necessary, but don't need to control everything. This principle connects directly to the Stoic virtue of wisdom, knowing when to act and when to step back, when to lead and when to follow, when to speak and when to listen. Marcus Aurelius wrote about the importance of understanding your role in different situations and fulfilling it excellently. In the context of seduction, this means recognizing when the situation calls for your leadership and stepping up confidently, while also recognizing when it's appropriate to be more collaborative or deferential. Practical leadership in dating and relationships might look like suggesting interesting places to go instead of always asking, "What do you want to do?" It might mean having opinions about restaurants, activities, or experiences and being willing to share them. It might mean being comfortable making decisions about logistics while still being considerate of her preferences and boundaries. But here's the crucial distinction. Leading without dominating means you're creating opportunities for great experiences together, not trying to control her choices or override her autonomy. You might suggest a great restaurant you've been wanting to try, but if she's not interested or has dietary restrictions, you adapt gracefully. You might plan an interesting date activity, but if she's not comfortable with it, you have backup options ready. This type of leadership is attractive because it demonstrates confidence, initiative, and the ability to create positive experiences for others. It shows that you're not just along for the ride in your own life, you're actively shaping your experiences and inviting others to join you in creating something interesting together. Women are often attracted to men who can enhance their lives by introducing them to new experiences, perspectives, and possibilities. The underlying psychology here connects to evolutionary attraction patterns. Throughout human history, women have often been attracted to men who could provide security, resources, and leadership within social groups. While the specific expressions of these traits have evolved with society, the underlying attraction to confident, capable leadership remains. However, modern leadership in relationships is about partnership, not dominance. It's about being someone who adds value to her life experience, not someone who tries to control it. It's about inspiring her to want to follow your lead because you consistently make good decisions and create positive outcomes, not because you demand compliance. Understanding these 6 rules creates a foundation for natural, authentic attraction that doesn't rely on manipulation, games, or artificial techniques. Instead, it's based on becoming the kind of man who is genuinely attractive, mysterious enough to maintain interest, independent enough to avoid neediness, emotionally sophisticated enough to create engaging experiences, strategic enough to build anticipation, interesting enough to stimulate her mind, and confident enough to lead in ways that enhance both of your lives. The beauty of these principles is that they work together synergistically. When you maintain mystery while showing genuine confidence, when you lead without dominating while staying strategically absent at times, when you focus on being interesting while mastering emotional contrast, you create a compound effect that makes you significantly more attractive than the sum of these individual traits. But perhaps most importantly, these rules aren't just about attracting women. They're about becoming a better version of yourself. The man who embodies these principles naturally becomes more successful in all areas of life because he's developed genuine confidence, emotional intelligence, independence, and leadership abilities. He becomes attractive not just to romantic partners, but to friends, colleagues, and anyone who values depth, authenticity, and strength of character. The ancient Stoics understood that the path to a fulfilling life involves continuous self-improvement, not for external validation, but for the inherent satisfaction of becoming who we're capable of being. When you apply these seduction principles with that mindset, focusing on your own growth and development rather than just trying to get a specific outcome with any particular woman, you naturally become the kind of man that high-quality women want to be around. Remember, true seduction isn't about convincing someone to be attracted to you against their better judgment. It's about becoming so genuinely attractive that people naturally want to be in your presence, to share experiences with you, to explore possibilities with you. It's about developing yourself to the point where your mere existence in someone's life makes that life more interesting, more fulfilling, and more exciting. These 6 rules represent decades of observation, research, and practical application by men who understand that attraction is both an art and a science. They've been tested across cultures, generations, and social contexts because they're based on fundamental aspects of human psychology that transcend temporary trends or social movements. As you begin to implement these principles in your own life, Remember that mastery takes time and practice. Start with the rule that resonates most strongly with you, or the one that represents your biggest current weakness. Focus on authentic implementation rather than mechanical application. The goal isn't to become someone else, it's to become the best, most attractive version of who you already are. The journey of becoming a truly magnetic man is ongoing and requires constant refinement, but the rewards extend far beyond romantic success. You'll find that these principles enhance every relationship in your life, improve your professional interactions, and contribute to a deeper sense of personal satisfaction and achievement. Most importantly, you'll discover that when you focus on becoming genuinely attractive rather than just trying to attract, you naturally draw the right people into your life while repelling those who aren't aligned with your values and standards.